Evelyn Hart sat at her desk in the sleek, modern office of Hart & Associates, a prominent law firm in San Francisco. The city buzzed outside her window, filled with the sounds of traffic and the distant hum of life. She was known for her sharp intellect and unwavering determination, qualities that had earned her a reputation as one of the best lawyers in the city. Yet, despite her professional success, Evelyn often felt a void within her, a longing for something more meaningful. Today was different. She was preparing to meet a new client, a case that had already piqued her interest. As she reviewed the file, she learned that Liam Sterling, an artist accused of art theft, would be walking through her door soon. The mere thought of representing someone in the creative field excited her. It was a world so different from her own. When Liam entered the office, Evelyn was immediately struck by his presence. He was tall and lean, with tousled dark hair that framed his face and intense green eyes that seemed to hold stories untold. Dressed casually in a black t-shirt and jeans, he looked every bit the artist, free-spirited yet burdened by the weight of his current situation. "Mr. Sterling," Evelyn greeted him with a warm smile, gesturing for him to take a seat. "I'm Evelyn Hart. Thank you for coming in today." "Thank you for seeing me," Liam replied, his voice steady but tinged with nervousness. He settled into the chair across from her, his posture revealing both confidence and vulnerability. As they began to discuss the details of his case, Evelyn noticed how passionately Liam spoke about his art. He described each piece he had created as an extension of himself, a reflection of his emotions and experiences. It was clear that art was not just a profession for him, it was his lifeblood. "I've poured my heart into every canvas," Liam said, his eyes lighting up as he spoke. "But now I'm facing these accusations, it feels like everything I've worked for is slipping away." Evelyn listened intently, captivated not just by his words but by the raw emotion behind them. She could sense the pain he felt over being accused of something so heinous. Art theft was not just a crime, it was an attack on his identity as an artist. "I believe you," she said firmly, meeting his gaze with conviction. "We will fight this together." For a moment, their eyes locked in an unspoken agreement, an understanding that transcended their roles as lawyer and client. In that fleeting moment, something shifted between them, an electric connection sparked in the air. As their meeting progressed, they delved deeper into Liam's background and the circumstances surrounding the theft allegations. Evelyn learned that he had recently lost his mentor under mysterious circumstances and that there were whispers in the art community about jealousy and betrayal. "Do you have any idea who might want to harm your reputation?" Evelyn asked cautiously. Liam sighed heavily, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "There are always rivals in this industry. But I never thought someone would go this far." Evelyn felt a surge of determination rise within her. She would not let Liam's passion be extinguished by false accusations or petty rivalries. As they wrapped up their meeting, she sensed that this case would be more than just another job, it would be a journey that could change both their lives forever. "Let's meet again tomorrow," she suggested as they stood to leave. "We'll start building your defense." Liam nodded appreciatively, a flicker of hope igniting in his eyes. "Thank you, Evelyn. I really appreciate your support." As he turned to leave, Evelyn couldn't shake off the feeling that this encounter was just the beginning of something profound, something that would challenge her professionally and personally. After Liam left her office, Evelyn sat back down at her desk, reflecting on their conversation. She couldn't help but smile at how invigorating it felt to connect with someone so passionate about their craft. It reminded her why she became a lawyer in the first place, to help people reclaim their lives and pursue their dreams. With renewed purpose, she began drafting a plan for Liam's defense while thinking about how their paths had crossed at such a pivotal moment in both their lives. The following day, the sun rose over San Francisco, casting a golden light across the bay. Evelyn Hart arrived at her office with a sense of purpose, eager to dive deeper into Liam Sterling's case. She had spent the night reviewing every detail, determined to uncover the truth behind the allegations against him. The more she learned about Liam, the more she felt compelled to fight for him. As she settled into her workspace, her mind raced with strategies and ideas. She was interrupted by a knock on her door. "Come in," she called, looking up to see Liam standing there, a hint of apprehension in his expression. "Hey," he said softly, stepping inside. He looked a bit more relaxed than yesterday, but there was still an underlying tension in his posture. "Good morning. I'm glad you're here, Evelyn replied, motioning for him to take a seat. I've been thinking about our next steps. Liam sat down, his eyes scanning the room before settling on her. I've been thinking too, he admitted. About everything. I really appreciate how you're handling this. Evelyn smiled, feeling warmth spread through her chest at his words. We're in this together. I want to make sure you feel supported throughout this process. They spent the next hour discussing the details of Liam's case more thoroughly. Evelyn laid out her plan. They would gather evidence that could prove his innocence and investigate anyone who might have had a motive to frame him. As she spoke, Liam listened intently, nodding along as she outlined each step. I want to help you find out who did this, Evelyn said firmly. We'll start by reaching out to your contacts in the art community. Someone must have seen or heard something. Liam leaned back in his chair, looking thoughtful. There are a few people I can think of who might have insights. But, I don't want to drag anyone into this if they don't have to be involved. I understand, Evelyn replied gently. But we need to be thorough. Your reputation is on the line here. As they continued their discussion, Evelyn noticed how Liam's passion for art shone through even in the darkest moments of their conversation. He spoke about his latest exhibition with such enthusiasm that it was contagious. The way he described each piece, the colors, the emotions, made her heart race with excitement. Art is everything to me, he said, his voice filled with conviction. It's how I express myself. If I lose that, I don't know who I'll be anymore. Evelyn felt a pang of empathy for him. She could see how deeply he cared about his work and how much this situation threatened not just his career but also his identity. After their meeting, they decided to grab lunch at a nearby cafe known for its vibrant atmosphere and eclectic art displays, a perfect setting for two creative souls trying to navigate a stormy situation. As they walked through the bustling streets of San Francisco, Evelyn couldn't help but steal glances at Liam. He seemed more relaxed now, his shoulders less tense as he engaged with her about various art styles and movements that inspired him. I love how art can evoke emotions, he said passionately as they settled at a small table outside under an awning adorned with colorful flowers. It's like capturing a moment in time. Evelyn smiled at him, feeling drawn into his world of creativity and expression. You have such a gift, Liam, she said sincerely. It's clear that your art means everything to you. Their conversation flowed effortlessly as they shared stories about their lives. Liam talked about growing up in a small town where he felt misunderstood until he discovered art as an outlet. Evelyn shared her journey through law school and the challenges she faced as a woman in a male-dominated field. As they laughed and exchanged anecdotes over their meals, Evelyn felt an undeniable connection growing between them, a bond that transcended their professional roles. But just as things seemed perfect, Liam's expression shifted suddenly as if clouds had rolled in over their sunny afternoon. Evelyn, he said hesitantly, there's something I need to tell you. Her heart raced at the seriousness of his tone. What is it? I've been thinking about my ex-boyfriend, he admitted, looking down at his plate as if ashamed. He was part of my life when I was starting out as an artist, and now that he's back in town. Evelyn felt a knot form in her stomach at the mention of Marcus, the man who had already disrupted their lives once before. What do you mean? She asked carefully. I don't want him getting involved in this case or causing any more trouble, Liam confessed, frustration bubbling beneath his calm exterior. Evelyn reached across the table and placed her hand over his, a small gesture of solidarity amidst uncertainty. You don't have to face this alone, she reassured him gently. We'll handle whatever comes our way together. Liam looked up at her then, vulnerability etched across his features as he met her gaze, an unspoken promise forming between them. As they finished lunch and prepared to leave, Evelyn felt invigorated by their connection but also aware of the challenges ahead. They were embarking on a journey filled with obstacles and potential heartbreaks, but together they would face whatever came next. The days turned into weeks, and with each passing moment, the bond between Evelyn and Liam deepened. Their meetings became a blend of legal strategy and personal connection, filled with laughter, shared stories, and an undeniable chemistry that neither could ignore. San Francisco's vibrant art scene served as the backdrop for their growing relationship, a canvas painted with the colors of hope and uncertainty. One afternoon, after a particularly productive meeting at her office, Evelyn suggested they take a break from the legal grind. Why don't we visit one of the galleries downtown? I think it might inspire you, she proposed, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Liam's face lit up at the idea. I'd love that. It's been a while since I've been to a gallery just to enjoy the art instead of worrying about my own work. They made their way to a nearby gallery known for showcasing emerging artists. As they entered, the atmosphere enveloped them, a mix of creativity and passion hung in the air like a tangible force. The walls were adorned with vibrant paintings and thought-provoking installations, each piece telling a story that resonated with Liam. As they wandered through the exhibits, Evelyn watched Liam closely. He moved from piece to piece, his eyes lighting up with excitement as he analyzed each work. Look at this one, he said, standing in front of a large abstract painting filled with swirling colors. The way the artist captures chaos is incredible. Evelyn stepped closer, appreciating how passionately he spoke about art. It's like you can feel the emotion behind every brushstroke, she agreed, feeling inspired by his perspective. They continued exploring until they reached a quieter section of the gallery where more intimate pieces were displayed, portraits that seemed to capture raw human emotion. One particular painting caught Liam's attention. It was a striking depiction of two figures intertwined, their expressions filled with longing and connection. This one speaks to me, Liam said softly, his gaze fixed on the artwork. It's like it tells a story of love and struggle. Evelyn felt her heart race at his words. She stepped closer to him, their shoulders brushing against each other as they admired the piece together. It really does, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. In that moment, surrounded by art that echoed their own emotions, something shifted between them again. The air crackled with tension as they stood side by side, lost in the beauty of the painting and each other's presence. Liam, Evelyn began hesitantly, I know things are complicated right now, but I want you to know that I'm here for you. He turned to her, vulnerability shining in his green eyes. I appreciate that more than you know, he said earnestly. This whole situation has been overwhelming. Without thinking, Evelyn reached out and took his hand in hers, a simple gesture that felt monumental in its significance. Their fingers intertwined naturally, as if they were meant to fit together. I want to help you through this, she said firmly. You're not alone in this fight. Just then, her phone buzzed in her pocket, breaking the moment. Evelyn reluctantly released his hand to check it. It was a message from her boss reminding her about an important meeting later that day. I have to go back to the office soon, she said regretfully, glancing back at Liam who looked momentarily disappointed. Let's grab coffee before you head back, he suggested hopefully. Evelyn smiled at him, she couldn't resist spending more time together. Absolutely. They found a cozy cafe nearby where they settled into a corner table with steaming cups of coffee in hand. The atmosphere was warm and inviting, filled with soft chatter and clinking cups, a perfect setting for their conversation. As they talked about everything from art to their favorite books, Evelyn felt herself relaxing more than she had in weeks. Liam was charming and witty, his laughter was infectious. Yet beneath it all lay an undercurrent of tension stemming from his legal troubles and Marcus's looming presence. I've been thinking about my ex, Liam admitted suddenly as he stirred his coffee absent-mindedly. He has a way of showing up when I least expect it, and it messes with my head. Evelyn leaned forward, concern etched on her face. Is he causing problems for you? Because if he is, no. Liam interrupted quickly, shaking his head. It's just, I thought I was over him until he showed up again. It brings back memories I'd rather forget. Evelyn felt a pang of empathy for him. She understood how difficult it could be to move on from someone who had once held such significance in your life. You deserve to focus on your future, not be haunted by your past, she said gently. He met her gaze then, an intensity in his eyes that made her heart race again. You make me feel like I can move forward, he confessed quietly. Evelyn felt warmth spread through her chest at his words. There was something undeniably special about their connection, a spark that ignited every time they were together. As they finished their coffee and prepared to leave, Evelyn knew she had crossed into uncharted territory with Liam, one filled with emotions that were both exhilarating and terrifying. Thank you for today, Liam said as they stepped outside into the bustling street once more. The sun was beginning to set behind the buildings, casting a warm glow over everything. Anytime, Evelyn replied sincerely. Just remember, I'm here for you. As they parted ways outside the cafe, Evelyn couldn't shake off the feeling that this journey was leading them somewhere profound, somewhere neither of them could fully comprehend yet but where their hearts were guiding them nonetheless. The following week brought a whirlwind of emotions for Evelyn and Liam. As the trial date loomed closer, the pressure mounted. Evelyn spent countless hours preparing Liam's defense, poring over evidence and strategizing every possible angle. She was determined to prove his innocence, but the weight of the situation often felt overwhelming. One evening, after a long day at the office, Evelyn found herself staring at the city skyline from her window, lost in thought. The sun had dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. Just then, her phone buzzed with a message from Liam. "Can we meet? I need to talk." Her heart raced at the urgency in his text. She quickly replied, suggesting they meet at their favorite cafe. Within half an hour, she arrived and found Liam already seated at a corner table, his expression serious. "Hey," she said softly, sliding into the chair across from him. "What's going on?" Liam looked up, his green eyes clouded with concern. "I've been thinking a lot about Marcus," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "He's been reaching out to me again." Evelyn felt a knot tighten in her stomach at the mention of Liam's ex-boyfriend. "What do you mean? Is he bothering you?" Liam sighed deeply, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "He wants to meet up, to talk about old times. I don't know how to handle it. Part of me wants to see him, but I'm scared it'll mess everything up." Evelyn leaned forward, her heart aching for him. "You don't owe him anything, Liam. You're not that person anymore. You're building a new life, one that doesn't include Marcus." "I know," he replied, his voice tinged with frustration. "But there's this part of me that feels drawn to him, like I'm still tied to my past." Evelyn reached across the table and took his hand in hers, grounding him with her touch. "You have to think about what you truly want," she urged gently. "What do you feel when you think about Marcus?" Liam hesitated, searching for words. "I feel conflicted. He was my first love, and there are memories that still linger, both good and bad." "Those memories don't define you," Evelyn said firmly. "You have the power to choose your future." As they talked, Evelyn could see the internal struggle reflected in Liam's eyes, the battle between past attachments and present desires. She wanted so desperately to help him break free from those chains. Just then, the cafe door swung open, and in walked Marcus, exuding confidence as he scanned the room until his gaze landed on their table. A wave of tension washed over Evelyn as she instinctively tightened her grip on Liam's hand. "Speak of the devil," she muttered under her breath. Liam's expression shifted from concern to alarm as he spotted Marcus approaching them. "What is he doing here?" he whispered urgently. "Stay calm," Evelyn whispered back, trying to maintain composure. Marcus sauntered over with an easy smile plastered on his face. Well, if it isn't my favorite artist and his lawyer," he said playfully but with an edge that made Evelyn uneasy. "What do you want?" Liam asked bluntly, pulling his hand away from Evelyn's grasp as if distancing himself from the situation. "I just thought we could catch up," Marcus replied casually, leaning against the table with an air of familiarity that made Evelyn bristle. "It's been too long since we've talked." Evelyn could sense Liam's discomfort rising. She quickly interjected before things escalated further. "Liam is busy right now," she said firmly, meeting Marcus's gaze with unwavering resolve. "Oh come on. Just a quick chat," Marcus pressed, ignoring her completely as if she were invisible. "Why don't you just leave him alone?" Evelyn shot back defensively. Liam looked between them, caught in an uncomfortable tension that made him visibly uneasy. "I don't want to talk right now," he said finally, trying to assert himself. Marcus raised an eyebrow but didn't back down. "Fine. But don't think you can just cut me out of your life like that," he retorted before turning on his heel and striding away. As soon as Marcus was out of sight, Liam let out a shaky breath as if he had been holding it since Marcus arrived. "I'm sorry about that," he said quietly, looking down at the table. Evelyn felt a surge of protectiveness for him. She reached across once more to take his hand again gently. "You don't have to apologize for anything," she reassured him softly. "You're not responsible for how he acts." "I know, but it brings up so much," he admitted, his voice filled with frustration and sadness. "Let's focus on what matters right now, your case and your future," Evelyn encouraged gently but firmly. Liam nodded slowly but still looked troubled. She could see that Marcus had stirred something deep within him, a fear of being pulled back into a past he was trying so hard to escape. As they left the cafe together, Evelyn felt a renewed sense of determination wash over her. She would help Liam confront not only the legal battle ahead but also the emotional turmoil that threatened to hold him back. They walked side by side through the streets of San Francisco as twilight descended upon them, a beautiful city filled with possibilities yet shadowed by challenges ahead. "Thank you for standing up for me back there," Liam said softly after several moments of silence between them. "Always," Evelyn replied sincerely as they reached her car parked nearby. In that moment under the fading light of day, something shifted again between them, a shared understanding that they were allies in this fight against both external pressures and internal struggles. As they drove back toward her office together, Evelyn couldn't shake off the feeling that this journey was leading them towards something profound, something that would forever change their lives. The following days moved with a sense of urgency as the trial date approached. Evelyn and Liam worked tirelessly, poring over evidence and strategizing their defense. Yet, amidst the chaos of legal preparations, an undeniable tension simmered between them, one that was both exhilarating and terrifying. One evening, after a long day at the office, Evelyn invited Liam to her apartment for a more relaxed meeting. She wanted to create an environment where they could discuss not only the case but also the emotions that had been building between them. As she prepared tea in her cozy kitchen, she felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. When Liam arrived, he looked weary but determined. His green eyes held a spark of something deeper as he stepped into her space, and Evelyn felt her heart race at the sight of him. The warmth of the room contrasted with the chill of the world outside, creating a sanctuary where they could momentarily escape their troubles. "Thanks for having me over," he said, taking a seat at her small dining table. "I know we need to focus on the case, but it feels good to be away from the office for a bit." Evelyn smiled, pouring steaming tea into 2 mugs. "I thought we could take a break from all the legal jargon and just talk. We've been so focused on fighting this battle, I want to make sure you're okay too." As they settled into their conversation, they discussed everything from art to their favorite movies. The atmosphere lightened as laughter filled the room, making it easy to forget the weight of their situation, if only for a moment. But as the evening wore on, Evelyn sensed an undercurrent of tension still lingering between them. It was as if they were dancing around something unspoken, something that needed to be addressed. "Liam," she began cautiously, setting her mug down and meeting his gaze. "I know we've been through a lot together lately, but I want to make sure we're both on the same page." He looked at her intently, his expression shifting from amusement to seriousness. "What do you mean?" "I mean, there's this connection between us," she said softly, her heart pounding in her chest. "And I don't want to ignore it." Liam's breath caught slightly as he processed her words. "I feel it too," he admitted quietly. "But with everything going on, I don't want to complicate things further." Evelyn felt a pang of disappointment but understood his hesitation. "I get that. This is such a chaotic time for both of us." She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "But I can't help how I feel." Liam reached across the table, taking her hand in his, a gesture that sent shivers down her spine. "You make me feel safe," he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "In all this mess, you're my anchor." Their eyes locked in that moment, and Evelyn felt an overwhelming urge to bridge the gap that had formed between them. Without thinking, she leaned closer, closing the distance that had felt insurmountable just moments before. "Can I kiss you?" Liam asked suddenly, his voice thick with emotion. "Yes," she breathed out before she even realized what she was saying. In an instant, their lips met, tentative at first but quickly igniting into something passionate and fervent. The kiss deepened as they lost themselves in each other. It was as if all their fears and doubts melted away in that single moment of connection. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathless and wide-eyed with surprise at what had just transpired. "I didn't expect that," Liam said softly, his cheeks flushed with color. "Neither did I," Evelyn admitted with a shy smile. "But it felt right." They sat there for a moment in silence, processing what had just happened. The air between them crackled with electricity, a mixture of excitement and uncertainty about what this meant for their relationship moving forward. "I want to explore this," Liam said finally, his voice steadying as he squeezed her hand gently. "But we have to be careful with everything going on." Evelyn nodded in agreement, she understood completely. They were navigating uncharted waters filled with potential dangers, both legally and emotionally, but she couldn't deny how much she wanted this connection with him. As they shifted back into discussing the case afterward, Evelyn felt lighter somehow, like a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. They worked together seamlessly as they reviewed documents and brainstormed strategies for trial. Later that night, after Liam left her apartment, Evelyn found herself replaying their kiss over and over in her mind, the warmth of his lips against hers and the way he had looked at her with such intensity. It was exhilarating yet terrifying to think about how this new dynamic would affect their professional relationship. The trial was still looming ahead like a dark cloud on the horizon, but now there was also a glimmer of hope, a promise of something beautiful waiting to unfold amidst the chaos. As she prepared for bed that night, Evelyn couldn't shake off the feeling that whatever happened next would change everything for both of them, forever intertwining their lives in ways they had yet to fully understand. The days leading up to the trial felt like a blur of tension and anticipation. Evelyn and Liam worked diligently, poring over every detail of the case, but beneath the surface, an undeniable shift had occurred in their relationship. The kiss they shared lingered in the air between them, creating a mix of excitement and uncertainty that neither could ignore. On the morning of the trial, Evelyn arrived at the courthouse with a sense of determination. She wore a tailored navy suit that exuded professionalism, but inside, her heart raced with a cocktail of nerves and anticipation. Today was crucial, not just for Liam's future but for their burgeoning relationship as well. As she walked through the bustling halls of the courthouse, she spotted Liam waiting outside the courtroom. He looked handsome and composed, dressed in a crisp white shirt and dark trousers. But there was a flicker of anxiety in his eyes that tugged at her heart. "Hey," she greeted him warmly, trying to inject some positivity into the moment. "You ready for this?" Liam took a deep breath, his expression serious. "As ready as I'll ever be," he replied, forcing a smile. "I just want to get through today." Evelyn placed a reassuring hand on his arm. "We're going to do this together. Just remember to breathe." They entered the courtroom together, where the atmosphere was charged with tension. The judge presided over the proceedings with an air of authority, and the opposing counsel sat across from them, exuding confidence that made Evelyn's stomach churn. As the trial began, Evelyn focused intently on her strategy. She presented evidence methodically, calling witnesses who could vouch for Liam's character and his dedication to his art. Each testimony painted a picture of a passionate artist wrongfully accused, a narrative that resonated with the jury. But as the day wore on, Evelyn noticed that Marcus was present in the courtroom, sitting quietly in the back. His presence sent a ripple of unease through Liam, who seemed to shrink into himself every time he caught sight of his ex. Evelyn felt her protective instincts flare up. She wanted to shield Liam from any distractions or emotional turmoil. During a break in the proceedings, Evelyn pulled Liam aside into a quiet corner of the courthouse hallway. "You're doing great," she reassured him gently. "Just try not to think about him." Liam ran a hand through his hair in frustration. "It's hard not to think about him when he's right there," he said, glancing back toward where Marcus sat. "Focus on what we can control," Evelyn urged softly. "This is about you and your future, don't let him take that away from you." He nodded slowly but still looked troubled. "I know you're right, it just brings up so many feelings." "Let's channel those feelings into your defense," Evelyn suggested with a smile. "You're more than capable of handling this." With renewed determination, they returned to the courtroom as the trial resumed. As Evelyn continued to present their case, she could see Liam becoming more engaged, his passion for art shining through as he spoke about his work and what it meant to him. But just as things seemed to be going well, an unexpected twist unfolded when Marcus was called as a witness by the opposing counsel. Evelyn felt her heart sink. She knew this could change everything. As Marcus took the stand, he projected an air of confidence that made her skin crawl. He began recounting stories from their past, some true, others exaggerated, painting Liam in a negative light while trying to establish doubt about his character. "Liam has always been competitive," Marcus stated coolly. "He would do anything to succeed, even if it meant crossing ethical lines." Evelyn clenched her fists under the table, feeling anger boil within her. She knew this was all part of Marcus's game, to manipulate perceptions and undermine Liam's credibility. After Marcus finished his testimony, Evelyn stood up to cross-examine him. She approached with purpose, determined to expose his motives and reveal the truth. "Marcus," she began firmly, "you claim that Liam is unethical and competitive, yet you were once his mentor and partner in art. Why did your relationship end? Marcus smirked slightly before responding. Liam was always too ambitious for his own good. I couldn't keep up with him. Evelyn pressed further, sensing an opening. So it wasn't just about art, it was also about personal differences. Is that why you're here today? To settle old scores. The courtroom fell silent as Marcus's expression shifted momentarily, his facade cracking under pressure. I'm here because I care about justice, he replied defensively. Justice? Evelyn echoed incredulously. Or revenge? Liam watched from his seat, tension radiating off him as he absorbed every word exchanged between them. Evelyn continued her line of questioning with precision, dismantling Marcus's credibility piece by piece until she sensed victory within reach, a moment where truth would prevail over manipulation. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of questioning and counter-questioning, she stepped back and allowed Marcus to leave the stand, a small sense of triumph swelling within her. As they returned to their seats after closing arguments were made for both sides, Evelyn looked over at Liam, who appeared visibly shaken but also relieved. You did amazing, she whispered softly as they waited for the jury's decision. I couldn't have done it without you, he replied sincerely, gratitude shining in his eyes. As they sat side by side in tense anticipation waiting for what felt like hours before finally hearing those fateful words, the jury had reached its verdict. Evelyn held onto Liam's hand tightly, it was a lifeline amidst uncertainty. When the verdict was finally announced, not guilty, a wave of relief washed over them both like sunlight breaking through storm clouds after days of rain.